1949, Wile E. Coyote, Tweety Bird, Bugs Bunny, and Taz.
It's funny how a 90s household had its own rhythm, especially here in America. You'd walk in and instantly know where you were. The living room might have plastic grapes that nobody ever touched, a TV guide tossed on the couch, and the faint smell of potpourri drifting from the kitchen. And somehow, that glowing red alarm clock in the bedroom made the whole place feel safe at night.
What time you wake up is
my business.
ours too.
It wasn't fancy, but it was ours, and every little thing carried its own story. Today, we're going back into those warm, weird comforts of a 90s household. Let's see how many you remember. 1. Fake plastic grapes. You know what always cracked me up? Those fake plastic grapes in the living room. Every house had them. Shiny, perfectly round, and sitting in some heavy glass bowl like they were too good to eat. And you knew better than to touch them, even though they were just cold, dusty plastic. Honestly, I don't even think anyone really bought them. I feel like they just appeared in every house, like part of the starter kit for being a 90s parent. And they stayed there for years, untouched like some weird status symbol. They didn't make the room fancier, but they felt like they did. Funny thing is, you can still picture them clearer than some of the real food you actually ate. Number 2. Disney and Looney Tunes collector cups.
See, you can buy a Sylvester mug like me for $2.95 with every $5 purchase.
And then there were the cups. Oh my god, the cups. If your family ever hit up Burger King or McDonald's in the 90s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those Disney collector cups or the plastic Looney Tunes ones that came with a Happy Meal or combo. It didn't matter the movie. Whether it was Lion King, Pocahontas, or Batman Forever, every single cup was going straight into the cupboard at home. And here's the thing, they never faded away. Years later, you'd open the cabinet and still find one. The logo's all scratched up, maybe cloudy from the dishwasher, but we used them daily. There's a chance that half the juice you drank as a kid came from a faded Space Jam cup. And at the same time, it felt special, like you owned a piece of the movie. Looking back now, it's hilarious how those cheap cups outlasted actual glasses in the house. Number 3. Country-themed kitchen decor. Now, if you walked from that cupboard of collector cups straight into the kitchen, you already know what you'd see. Apples, roosters, ducks, everywhere. It didn't matter if your family lived in the suburbs or a small apartment. The kitchen always looked like some farmhouse catalog exploded in there. Apple print curtains, rooster clocks, maybe even a duck running along the wallpaper. And it always smelled like potpourri or a vanilla candle from the dollar store. Honestly, I used to wonder if there was one store that sold all of this in bulk because every kitchen had the same vibe. Cozy, but also a little funny. Like, why did we need ceramic apples sitting on top of the fridge? But still, that smell and that look instantly meant home. Number 4. Bag of plastic bags. And while we're still in that kitchen, let's be real. Every single one had the bag of plastic bags under the sink. You know exactly what I mean. It was this giant ball of grocery bags stuffed into one bigger grocery bag like some kind of never-ending cycle. Your mom swore they were for later, but later usually meant lining the bathroom trash can or packing a soggy lunch. And the wild part? It wasn't even a conscious choice. Nobody called it recycling. It was just what you did. Honestly, every family in America probably had the same secret stash under the sink. And maybe it's just me, but even today, I can't throw a plastic bag away without feeling guilty about other things it could be useful for. I guess habits like that just never really leave you. Number 5. Margarine containers for leftovers. Speaking of kitchen secrets, let's talk about the butter tubs that lied to us. You'd spot a country crock container in the fridge, grab a knife, already picturing warm toast, only to pop it open and find leftover spaghetti. Or beans, or some mystery casserole you didn't even remember eating. It was betrayal, but also kind of genius. Why spend money on Tupperware when you have a stack of free containers from margarine? If you visited your grandma's a lot in the 90s, you'd know what I'm talking about. Some of them have so many of these containers, they could literally resell them. And here's the thing. A lot of 90s kids used to complain about it, but now even I catch myself saving random tubs too, like it's in our DNA at this point. The 90s trained us to never trust a butter container, and honestly, that lesson still holds up. Number 6. TV Guide and Entertainment Weekly. After dinner leftovers fooled you enough times, the real treat was sinking into the couch and flipping through the stack of TV guides on the coffee table. That little booklet basically ran the house schedule. You'd scan the pages with a highlighter, circling when Full House or TGIF was coming on like it was the event of the week. Looking back at it now, it felt official, like your family had an inside scoop before the internet was even a thing. A lot of kids loved flipping through just for the glossy pictures, even if they didn't care about half the shows. Looking back, it's wild how those magazines dictated our nights. Miss one episode? You were waiting until reruns months later. No streaming safety net. Number 7, alarm clock radio. If the TV guide ruled your evenings, that glowing red alarm clock ruled your mornings. Or, let's be real, your middle-of-the-night wake-ups too. You can still see those neon numbers shining across the room like a tiny lighthouse in the dark. Somehow, it made you feel safe, even if the rest of the house was quiet. If yours had a built-in radio, it meant the local top 40 station was your first sound every day. Sometimes you'd hit snooze so many times the alarm just gave up. And I don't know if it was just my house, but those clocks felt indestructible. Heavy plastic, loud buttons, and they lasted forever. Even now, whenever you see one at a thrift store, it's like stepping right back into our childhood bedroom. Number 8, poster collages. In the 90s, every teenager's room had a unique vibe to it. The moment you stepped into one, you just knew it. Walls didn't even look like walls anymore. They were plastered edge to edge with glossy posters ripped out of Tiger Beat or Teen People, Britney looking flawless in some sparkly top, NSYNC giving that smoldering stare, and the Spice Girls lined up with their wild outfits. It wasn't decoration, it was identity. You'd walk in and immediately know who someone's favorite was. And maybe it's just me, but those posters felt sacred. You couldn't just peel them down without leaving tape marks or tearing the corners, so they stayed. Faded from the sun, curling at the edges, but still holding on. You could swear those walls knew more about you than your parents ever did. Number 9, beanbag chairs and inflatable furniture. Right under those posters sat the ultimate 90s throne, the beanbag chair. Or if your parents gave in at Claire's or Target, maybe you had one of those inflatable chairs that squeaked every time you sat down. They looked so cool in the ads, all neon colors and shiny plastic, but in reality, they stuck to your legs and hissed air if you shifted the wrong way. But still, they were perfect for after-school TRL marathons. You'd flop down, grab a Capri Sun, and suddenly your room felt like MTV headquarters. Honestly, they were uncomfortable half the time, but nobody cared. Having a beanbag or an inflatable chair wasn't about comfort. It was about the vibe. And in the 90s, that vibe meant you were officially in your cool kid era. Number 10, boombox or CD player. Weekends in a 90s house didn't start until somebody hit play on the boombox or the big stereo in the living room. You remember those shelf systems? With the 5-disc changer and detachable speakers that rattled the windows if you turned them up too loud. Depending on your parents' taste, every Saturday morning cleaning session was always paired with Mariah Carey or Whitney or both. But a lot of 90s kids preferred Green Day or Backstreet Boys, so you had no choice but to wait your turn. There was something about sliding that tray out, stacking the discs, and watching it spin like you were running your own little radio station. And honestly, it didn't matter what was playing. Music made the house feel alive. The smell of Pine Sol mixed with whatever track was blasting will forever be a core memory. That stereo wasn't just electronics, it was family energy bottled up in the sound. Number 11, burned CDs and cassettes. Once the family stereo quieted down and the house got dark, that's when it shifted to something more personal. Your stack of CDs or cassettes came out, not the store-bought ones, but the ones you made yourself, burned on the family computer if you were lucky, or dubbed from the radio onto a cassette if you weren't. Kids had whole towers of them. Sharpie scrawled across the fronts, Summer 99, Slow Jams, Car Mix. Half the fun was in the making, waiting forever for a 4X burn to finish, praying it wouldn't skip halfway through. Honestly, those mixes felt like little pieces of you, who you had a crush on, what you wanted to scream sing when nobody was around. I still think the effort made the music mean more. Like handing someone a mix wasn't just sharing songs, it was giving them a piece of your diary or telling them how you really feel about them. Number 12, lava lamps and fiber optic lamps. After you hit play on that mix and let it spin, the next thing you did was switch the lights off and let the glow come on. Lava lamps were basically the mood setters of every 90s bedroom. Those slow, melting blobs floating up and down felt hypnotic, like they were moving in time with whatever song you had playing. And if it wasn't a lava lamp, it was that little fiber optic lamp from Spencer's Gifts with those glowing strands that looked like fireworks. If you were one of those kids who loved to stay indoors, you probably ran your fingers across the tips a million times, watching them change colors. Honestly, it was cheap mood lighting, but it felt magical. That glow made your posters pop, your beanbag feel like a lounge chair, and your mixes sound like they were made for you alone. Nights like that were their own kind of safe haven. Number 13, family computer in the living room. If you hated sharing your stuff in the 90s and your parents weren't rich, you had no choice but to share the family's computer. There was no such thing as privacy on that huge piece of junk. You'd be in the middle of an AIM chat and your dad would stroll by pretending not to read over your shoulder. Or worse, your sibling would hover just waiting for their turn to play Oregon Trail or Neopets. And don't even get me started on the AOL dial-up sound. That screeching robotic dial tone that basically announced to the whole house someone's stealing the phone line. It was chaos, but it was our chaos. Looking back, that big clunky monitor glowing in the corner almost feels warmer than the sleek laptops we all have now. Number 14, porcelain dolls or Beanie Babies. Somewhere in that same living room, usually on a little shelf you weren't allowed to touch, sat the collection. For some families, it was porcelain dolls with those glassy eyes that somehow followed you across the room. For others, it was Beanie Babies lined up in neat rows, plastic tags carefully covered in those little protector sleeves. Parents swore they'd be worth thousands someday, maybe even pay for college. Meanwhile, you were just trying to sneak one down to actually play with. And to be honest, some of those dolls were quite scary. They freaked a lot of kids out. Except beanies, though. Everyone loved beanies. Looking back, it's wild how seriously we took it. But that's what made it so 90s, taking ordinary stuff and turning it into a family treasure. That shelf said, "This house is complete." When you stack it all up, the plastic grapes, the rooster clocks, the bag of bags, the mix CDs, even those creepy porcelain dolls, it wasn't about the stuff itself. It was about how all those little details made a 90s house feel alive. Messy, mismatched, sometimes a little weird, but always full of comfort. You probably didn't realize it then, but those red glowing alarm clocks and cheap drive-through cups were shaping the rhythm of your lives. And maybe that's why they stick with us so much now. Because they weren't just decorations or habits. They were pieces of who we were growing up. If your house had even half of these, you know exactly what I mean. So tell me, what was the one thing in your house that didn't make this list? Drop it in the comments, and if you love this kind of nostalgia, hit subscribe to join us here on The Cozy Rewind. Let's share our best childhood memories together.